Tell us a little bit about the award that you won this evening.
So the award's definitely a really big honor. When they first had decided to do it, it was a really big surprise to even see that I was nominated. I feel like Reg has always been a really big part of the Canadian cattle industry, and just knowing that I'm potentially someone who resembles that is pretty crazy. The cattle industry has always been a really big part of my life, and it's what drove me to pursue the career that I'm in. And the CYL program is kind of what enabled me to become involved more in programs that were a little bit more in depth into the cattle industry in Canada, and I guess throughout the world. I've been able to meet people that I never thought that I'd meet before. I was able to interact with people like Reg. Definitely big idols in the industry that made a huge difference on where agriculture is and the name that the beef cattle industry has in Canada. So I kind of got off track, but just to say about the award is just that it is a huge honor, and I think that if I could do even close to what Reg ever did for the industry, that would be remarkable.
Tell us a little bit about your background and I guess the programs and where your career is headed.
Yeah, so I am a fourth generation farmer from a purebred Angus operation in Matejka, Alberta. My primary education or my primary job is I'm a veterinarian. So I went to vet school because I wanted to be a cattle veterinarian, because I wanted to have roots in the cattle industry, but be able to just have a little bit of a different voice or perspective than what I had before that. I went back to Matejka, Alberta, and I worked there for just under 3 years, and then I moved to Airdrie, where I do much more small animal now, but the CYL has been a big push for recognizing where I want to be in the industry and knowing that small animal is not something that I want to do, and kind of rerouting me in a direction to know why I became a veterinarian, and that truly is because I want to make an impact on the agriculture industry. So now I've just moved to Olds, Alberta, and just am kind of figuring out my roots again. My parents still farm in Matejka, and I go back there quite often to help out, but not as often as I'd like. But I'm involved in a few different boards outside the CYL. I helped plan this conference, so the Canadian Beef Industry Conference, as well as I sat on the cattle trail board for the Calgary Stampede for a little bit. I love mentoring. I love being able to get back to the industry. I had the opportunity to be able to judge the Calgary Stampede scholarships this year, as well as I'm fairly active within 4-H, just judging and mentoring. I'm really grateful for all of the advice and the teaching and the leadership that the mentors gave me growing up, and I think that the least that I could do is get back to the next generation to be able to try to teach them and inspire them and give them life lessons. So I'm really honored to be able to do everything that I do.
Well, that's fantastic. And you talked about moving back to Olds. Do you still do small animal primarily there, or some cattle? Or
so I'm still working in Airdrie, where I'm the primary mixed animal practice vet there, but just doing more small animal than I'd like to be doing. In Olds, I am trying to figure out a locum position right now where I can do more just large animal and not have the small animal side of things. Still in the works, still trying to figure out where that fits in. But I just moved to my significant other's farm, so now I'm on a beef and dairy and grain operation. So it definitely is like exactly where I want to be. Just trying to figure out how my career fits into that too.
Oh, fantastic! And I guess if you're talking to people about the CYL program that were thinking about applying to it, what would you tell them?
There's so many things that I want to tell them. I think that if you really want to be involved in the cattle industry or the beef industry and you just don't know exactly where you fit, this is the perfect program to open up doors, to open up network opportunities where you can meet people who can kind of give you a little bit more direction or introduce you to opportunities that you weren't even aware about. Coming to these different conferences, getting the different mentorship, hearing about different people's life journeys within the industry, I think it makes you realize that it's not a cookie cutter approach, and that just because you aren't doing X, Y, Z doesn't mean that you can't do ABC.
Anything you'd like to add that I haven't asked you?
No, I think that's pretty much everything.
Quickly, I guess, just tell us a little bit about your mentor, Amy Peck.
Yeah, so Amy's been the perfect mentor. I definitely don't think I could have asked for anyone better. So I guess to talk a little bit about why I ended up with Amy, who is kind of responsible for public trust and engagement with the CCA. But I have a social media channel that I had started back kind of right before COVID hit. And a big reason for that was because I recognized how much disconnect there was from agriculture as well as from veterinary medicine. I feel like constantly my friends never knew what I did on farm, didn't understand what farmers did, didn't understand where their food came from. So I just started sharing a little bit of my journey online, and that kind of introduced me to this world of that people really don't, not all of society, but a portion of society doesn't necessarily know where their food comes from. So that's where I got really interested in public trust and engagement, and that's why I was paired with Amy to be able to kind of continue to work towards giving consumers knowledge about exactly how their food is raised and making them feel confident about that it's raised in the right way. So my place with being paired with her has been outstanding. We've had lots of opportunities to discuss different engagement opportunities, as well as like where there's maybe little pitfalls in the industry, and where we need to improve. So she's definitely been a very supportive mentor, and I'm very grateful for